in my presentation, I'll be looking at the need to evolve, why we need to move forward with technology, and do we really have another option? Do we have one option to stay using the same traditional techniques we used to do in teaching, especially we'll be focusing on math teaching, or we have to move forward? And I'll be highlighting as well as some common challenges that math teachers face in using technology. And since I'm a biology teacher and a brain researcher, I would like to highlight on how our brain or the brain of the students, how it can grasp information so that it can lead to effective learning. So I think these three topics are somehow related, and we'll try in this conference to have some conversations and chats with the teachers to see their thoughts, their ideas, their opinion, their reflection about what's going on and what is going to come later. So first of all, let me introduce again myself. My name is Hatem Radwan. I'm a biology graduate, and I have a teaching diploma, and I've worked as a biology teacher in 2 schools. Now I'm working as a well-being coordinator and a high school biology teacher at Al-Ittihad Private School. And as well, I'm a education technology coach and e-learning specialist. I've worked with Edmodo for 3 years as Edmodo ambassador and a community manager. And I was working with finding solutions for online learning throughout the pandemic stage. So, and this is just a brief about the history of recent events I have attended back into 2018 in US, EdmodoCon, later on in BAT, UK, and twice I have attended as a speaker in JAS Dubai and other conferences. And the main topic that I used to highlight on was education technology and the challenges that teachers face, as well as brain and the activity of the brain and how much it is related to the process of learning. So first of all, before I start, I would like this session to be very engaging. I would like to hear from teachers, because at the end of the day, I'm a teacher, and the challenges that I face, I believe that everyone is facing. And we all care about having an effective learning, delivering to our kids the best quality of education. So speaking about teaching math, I believe, and it's not my only belief, I think it's everyone's belief, that it's the most challenging career. I don't know if you agree or to what extent you agree with that, but teaching math isn't like teaching any other subject, because it's not about teaching facts or even teaching skills. It's about training the brains of others to think in a proper way, empowering the cognitive abilities in students so that they can be problem solvers. They can find their own ways of finding solutions. So I believe that teaching math is very challenging. And my question for everyone here, and I would like to hear from you, do you think that technology made it easier or more challenging? And I would really appreciate if you can have your input, because you are math teachers, and many of you have taught before the implementation of online learning, before the implementation of technology, and after that. Do you think that technology made it easier for you or more challenging in terms of teaching? Easier. I see in the comments, yeah. So
it's definitely easier, yes.
Yeah.
Especially with the visualization tools, especially for plotting 3D objects, that makes it much more understandable than just on a blackboard.
Yeah. So I think we all can agree that definitely technology have helped us a lot in terms of the tools that is presented, in terms of communication and connection with the students, with the parents. But let me rephrase my question and ask, if I say, did technology make it easier for students to learn math? What do you say? Now, when I speak about learning math as a student perspective, did technology make it easier or more challenging? Because teaching at the end must lead to learning. So it might be easier for teachers to use tools, to be connected with the students over online platform. But in terms of learning and how effective it is, I believe that here are the challenges that are existing. And I can see that because I'm a high school teacher. I teach grade 12 and grade 9. And I see the feedback from my students saying that it's much more challenging for them when it comes to online learning, for the reason that the connection with the teacher isn't as before. So this is where the challenge is existing. And as teachers, this is what we really care about. What we care about is the learning, the level of learning. At the end of the day, we need to measure how much our students are learning. And I believe that technology brought amazing tools, but at the same time, it brought with us a lot of challenges that we need to overcome. And the problem about that is we didn't have enough time to look for alternative methods that can replace those methods that run for centuries before. I still have this calculator. I brought it back with me from my home country the year I arrived here. And I have kind of an emotional connection with this calculator. And I remember I used it in 2004 in grade 12. And I believe that this was for me the technology at that time. And I used to look at it and think how amazing it is. A lot of things happening here that I cannot do in my mind. And I remember my math teacher used to come to the classroom with just a chalk, not even a book or a paper, and just start writing on the board and explaining. And really, we had amazing learning experience at that time. Now, if I look back, do I go back to that time? No, I definitely say it was much more difficult for us, but we had a good quality of learning, even though it was more challenging. So I move back to Darwin's time when he said that the strongest of the species are those who are most responsive to change, not those who are most intelligent. And I'm using this quote to highlight on the change that is happening all over the world, especially in terms of education. We need to adapt for what is going on. Again, we ask the same question. Is technology or online learning an option for us? Actually, the pandemic showed us that it's no longer an option. It's something that we have to do. And here comes the effort that teachers have to put in order to move from the routine that they used to do for years into implementing a new routine, which is very challenging. And I always say we are still at the period of trial and error. We are still trying. I think the first year pandemic, we have tried new systems, new EMS systems, technology systems. The second year, other systems, and here the companies for edutech, they started working on business and giving us more solutions everywhere we go. So I think we are still in the transition state, and this is very challenging. And at the end, if we look at how the experience our students are having in terms of learning, this is the challenge that we are facing. So technology nowadays is working with education. If there are more advances in technology, this will impact or affect education. There must be more implementation happening in education. It's no longer something stable that we learn, we apply these strategies, and we move forward with it. And please, if anyone wants to comment or elaborate or ask a question, please feel free to stop me anytime, because I really would like to hear from you back, your thoughts. Maybe you have another idea, another thought. So the educators of the 21st century are different than the educators of before. You might say, at the end of the day, teacher is a teacher, yes, and the purpose is the same. It's the great value behind teaching and delivering information. But I believe nowadays we need to have a lot of skills. Teaching is challenging because you have to be a digital user. You have to be a learner. You have to keep learning, attending conferences. And I really would like to admire the Mathalon, which is running for 14 years. And this is a great opportunity for math teachers and us to connect and learn more and exchange information. So a teacher must be an active learner nowadays. I'm no longer a teacher. I keep attending conferences, looking for what is going on in terms of technology, in terms of my subject, biology, because it's never stopping. It's progressing, and day after day, it's becoming more rapidly changing and more dynamic. So a teacher, he has to be a relation builder, a learner, inclusive, reflector, must be good at networking, communication, innovation, And in addition to that, the 21st century skills, this is too much, but I don't think that they are too much for teachers because we already do that. Teachers do that even without technology. So implementation of technology, I think it's no longer an option. So if it's up to me, maybe I would say I would like to have a lecture to present for my students a lesson about biology, and I ask them to write the notes, then give them assessment at the end of the lesson. But this is no longer an option because I cannot do that anymore. Because even the grade distribution isn't about the assessment. The assessment grade distribution is different now. The way we evaluate our students is different. We have to look at their skills, their implementation of the new concepts they are learning. Even we have to look at how they use this technology, whether it's in a proper way or not. And sometimes I might say that this is a lot of distraction for the process of teaching and learning. And I can imagine how much effort teachers put at the beginning of the pandemic in order to learn those new tools. For a math teacher who has been teaching for 20 years, the same method, definitely he got 1 month in order to learn how to use how to do online learning over Zoom or any other platform, how to prepare an engaging lesson plan at the time the students are not in the classroom. I think this is a lot of challenge that we all faced. But I'm so positive about the way we got out of it. And definitely this is having a very positive impact because the mission of educators all over the world is the same. This is what we care about. Despite our salaries, despite the stress that we have, despite the demanding career that we have, we really care about our students, and we try our best to give them the best learning experience. And one proof is being you here in your weekend, being together in your weekend, attending a conference for 4 or 5 hours in one day. Definitely, this is a lot of sacrifice teachers do, but because we really care about our students. So, moving forward, I'll be talking about a little bit challenges, and I really would like to hear from you what the challenges you face when you started using technology. I mean by technology, online learning, the transition that you did in your classroom, in the way you build your lesson plan, when you started using maybe more videos, more visual concepts. So let me ask you, and I would like to hear from you, what challenges you have faced when you started using technology in terms of learning and the way students are learning math. Excessive screen time, yeah. Mariam is saying that excessive screen time, and I really agree with that. And I believe that this is the problem of the fast transition we did to online learning, because what we did in this transition, we just changed the platform or the medium of communication, but we are still giving the students 8 hours per day, 8 subjects, the same duration of the session. So, and this is something that I have looked at and I shared at my school. Like, there must be something done in the level of the system, educational system, when we go to online teaching. So I think the most important, let me check the comments. So I think one of the most challenging obstacles that we are facing is students' engagement and motivation. If I go back to 2017, Muhammad. Okay, I'm trying to read your. So, students, don't turn on your video, missing on social quotient. Students may be lazy and look at it as free time, definitely. And I think we are all facing these problems. And let me say the reason behind that might be students' engagement and motivation. It's easier for students to choose the path of least resistance, and demonstrating what they understand. It is more difficult for teachers to see what the students really know. Exactly. So I can summarize it when it comes to connection and communication one-to-one. Nothing can replace the real connection between a person and another. And this is more related into even the emotional feeling that we have when we are connected directly to someone. It's not going to be the same when we are looking over screens. And this is science, and studies have showed that if you are speaking to someone and he is in front of you, the attention that you give definitely is going to be at the peak compared whether you are speaking over a camera or behind screens. So I'm going to point on, even though there are a lot of challenges, but as a teacher, I see that the most important point that we need to tackle or look at is the engagement and motivation of the students. Because when your students are struggling in your math class, they are not doing well, they are unable to express it, they become disengaged. And Benjamin Franklin said, "Tell me, I will forget. Teach me, I will remember. Engage me, I will learn." So engagement is the core of the process of learning. Whatever lesson we are giving, we need to engage our students. And taking in mind that we have different types of learners. We have students who really would like to engage in a kind of static activity where they work, where they use their hands. Other students are more cognitive. Regardless of the type of learners, engagement is so important, and I believe engagement happens at the level of planning, at the level of preparing for the lesson. And here, where teachers sometimes fail to engage the students, when they don't plan for a lesson that is engaging, when they don't plan for activities that make the students engaged and motivated. Now, is it easy? No, it's not easy. It's very challenging. And I go back in 2017 or before, I remember whenever I witness a phone in the hand of my student in the classroom, I would say, "Leave your phone, I'll write a report, I'll call your parents, tell the admins, because you are not allowed to have a phone. This is distraction." Nowadays, are your students allowed to come to your class without a device, without an iPad or a laptop or even a phone? They are not allowed. I'm reporting the students who are coming to the classroom without a laptop. And speaking about that, your students are looking at the screens. We don't know what they are looking at unless if we have strong systems that can control the screens, and I doubt that we do use these at schools. So there is a lot of distraction happening in their brains, lot of things and worries, lot of connections on social media. And think about yourself when you are carrying your phone. Sometimes you want to read an email and you see a lot of notifications, and you spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe half an hour looking at these notifications, opening new videos, messages. You spend half an hour and you didn't intend to do that, because those devices are very distracting. So for me, I would rather prefer to keep using this calculator if it is doing its job, rather than using a very advanced tool that is still performing the same job but with a lot of distraction. That's why I think the transition in technology isn't about using these tools, is how to use these tools in an effective way. And here it comes to monitoring, guiding, putting strict rules. I don't want to give my students a laptop and internet and Wi-Fi and ask them, do whatever you want. There must be very clear instructions. So there must be instructional strategies that determine how students are going to use these tools. So I'm going to give a real-life example. Let me say in a math class, I'm introducing a new concept, and I want my students to research about it. The first mistake that we always fall in is we ask our students to do a research without telling them where to look at. And since they are using internet, they don't have to reach the college to understand the meaning of plagiarism. This must be done. This must be part of the curriculum. And again, this is very challenging for teachers. I don't have time to tell them about how to do a good research, but there must be another subject, maybe in English or any other subject, that tell the students how to do a proper research, how to look for proper websites, to avoid using websites that are not valid or reliable. So this must be incorporated and embedded in the curriculum, the use of internet. And this is very risky because our students, all what they know is they go to Google, type everything that they need to see, copy and paste whatever they check. And this is very challenging. And we don't have the time to look at every research, whether it is cited or referenced. So at least if I want to ask the students to do a research, I need to tell them that there are some guidelines. Okay, I advise you that you visit those 3 websites. And in case you need to get information from there, I want you to paraphrase them and mention the reference. It doesn't have to be APA style. It doesn't have to be a professional way of presenting the reference. But students must know that citation is important. They have to be aware what is the meaning of plagiarism, even at middle school level. They don't have to wait until they go to the college to do that. So I believe that technology plus engagement can lead to effective learning, and the proper use of technology will definitely help in enhancing the quality of learning. And in this diagram I drew, I can delete technology, still effective learning can happen if there is engagement. And this is how it happened years before with us, with our parents, and so on. But since we are saying that technology is no longer an option, so we have no other choice than exploring what we are using, being more familiar before we presenting it to the students, understanding how we can use it. And it all goes back before you start your lesson. The way you prepare for your lesson. This is where we struggle. This is where the paperwork happens. But unfortunately, this is something that we cannot replace. Because if I really want my student to be engaged, I need to plan an activity for them where I can be thinking about everything they are doing. At the same time, using technology in a proper way. And let's ask them to use technology up to a minimum extent. So, moving forward, I'm going to share with you a little bit about how learning happens in terms of brain. There are a lot of factors that influence the brain activity, because learning, by definition, it's an activity that influences the chemical structure of the brain and allow the person to grasp new concepts or new skills. So, as teacher, we have to be looking at what's going on in the brain of our students. When your student is sitting in the classroom, not interested in your lesson, not listening to you, what is going on in their brains? So there is kind of minimum knowledge we need to have, we need to share. It doesn't have to be a very complicated knowledge about the brain. So our brain works based on different factors: anatomy, chemistry, memory, genetics, psychology, and motivation. I'm not going to go into all of these together, but our role as teacher is to focus on how to motivate our students, how to drive their attention, because motivation will lead to attention and focus, and this will lead to engagement. And how we can make the lesson that we are going to give somehow make sense to the students related to their life. And this is the challenge that we are facing in teaching. Because if our students are not motivated and our lesson is a perfect lesson and we spend a lot of time planning for it, if it is not going to be delivered to our students in a proper way, then we have lost all the effort of planning. And going back to the definition of learning, it's the change in person's mental structure that creates the capacity to demonstrate different behavior. So something must be going on the student's brain, and we need to target this something. And sometimes it's not something complicated. Sometimes it's a question at the beginning of the day. It's a question that starts some curiosity with the students. Okay, if I want to explain, let's say I want to explain about functions. Instead of telling the students, today our lesson is about function, I will give them a problem from their daily life where the functions are integrated there. And I will ask them, think about it. Let me know your ideas. I try to drive their attention, get them into something that they don't know and they want to explore. And definitely every lesson there is a connection to real life. And as shared before, at the morning I was attending, and Dr. Zina was saying that math is everywhere. Yes, math is everywhere, but we need to bring this knowledge to the students and change their mindset about math, a boring subject about numbers that we don't use in our daily life. And we are good at doing that because every math teacher struggled in the college in order to understand the subject, and definitely you see the subject everywhere. So all what we have to do is to bridge the gap between the students thinking about math as a difficult subject, challenging, and bringing it into something easier, something they can relate to their daily life. And one more challenge that we have is comparing males to females and connecting family history to understanding of math. And I don't know that there is this mindset that if your parents are engineers or your parents are good at math, you are going to be good at math. Yes, genetics might play a role in that, but it's nothing compared to what we acquire. So there is no excuse for a student not to learn math. There is no excuse for a student not to understand math. And here when it comes to the students, they have to believe that. And we need to help them believe that. No, you can be excellent at math. You are not bad at math. And this is what they told you at home, that you are good at sports, you are bad at math because your brother is better, you cannot be like him. No. So genetics, it's only one factor, and the rest is about something that we can influence. We can help changing this mindset, and definitely math skills are acquired. And this is our role, help the students acquire these skills. So according to Einstein, education is not the learning of facts, definitely, but it's the training of the mind to think. And that's why I said at the beginning of the session, teaching math is the most challenging career, because you guys, this is what you do. You train the minds of others to think, to solve problems that they cannot visualize through their senses. When I'm speaking about numbers and space and graphs, sometimes students are unable to visualize this. So this is a very high cognitive level. That's why we are afraid of math teachers, because they are very intelligent. They are smart. And I admit that. I'm a biology teacher, but I feel I'm not very good at math, because at some moment I feel that those are gifted, because they are able to conceive, to have this perception of knowledge, even if it is not connected to their senses, not connected to their surrounding directly. Everything is going here. So teaching this is really challenging, and it's really difficult. And I believe even though technology helped us, brought more visual concepts, but it made us more difficult to help students learn this with all the distractions that they have in their daily life. So I think that I will add to these two wheels that I mentioned before, technology engagement, I'm going to add cognition. So I need to engage my students using technology, but at the same time, I need to be looking at high-level thinking. So the way I select the information, the activities for the student must be targeting high-level thinking. Because if I do all of that, but I don't target the high-level thinking with the students, it means I'm not teaching them math properly, or they are not going to learn math properly. And definitely this happens from one level to another, following Bloom's taxonomy, and the way we follow throughout a lesson is very important. So speaking about the brain acts as one unit, even though every part of the brain is devoted for one function. If I want to teach someone a new knowledge, I need to relate it to as much as I can different parts of the brain. And this is where technology can help us when it comes to visualizing concepts, when it comes to even connecting, speaking, experiencing things, 3D printing, holograms. There are a lot of technologies that can help us deliver the information in a very rich way. And as a result, targeting different parts of the brain in the students. And one of this part is motivation, one of these parts. Another one is emotions. Telling stories is so important. When you go to the classroom with a quote and tell the students, let's start with a quote today about about learning. It doesn't have to be even about your lesson. It can be something related to their daily life, because emotion plays a part in everything happening in the brain. And this is why I showed you this calculator, because I have an emotion connection with it, and I have an emotion connection with my math teacher. And this is where we play our parts when we look at the mental health of our students. Before I want you to learn math, I want you to feel good about studying math. And sometimes we fall behind because we have a curriculum we have to finish. Students are sitting for exams at the end, international exams. I don't have time to share with the students silly stories and quotes. No, this is much more important, because if you spend some time at the beginning of the semester or at the beginning of the year connecting and bonding with those students, trying to change their mindset, trying to bring some kind of emotional connection between you and them, definitely learning is going to be much more easier. And that's why understanding how the brain works is so important, because looking at the different parts of the brain, you can see different activities, different functions happening: visual processing, sensory, language, memory. So the best learning experience is that can hit all of these parts. For this reason, when we plan a lesson, we have to think about different ways to engage the students in different tools, in different scenarios, different examples from real life, trying our best to deliver for them the best learning experience that can engage many parts of the brain. So if you look at how information is organized in the brain, we can see moving as if we are moving in Bloom's taxonomy in levels of cognition until we reach problem solving and creation and innovation. First of all, selecting the information that makes sense to the students, interpreting information, then memorizing this information, decision making about this information, reasoning, and at the end, action based on the information. And this is where education strives to do, which is building lifelong learners, trying to influence the way students think and behave, not only think, in their daily life. So this is the purpose of education. If I teach my students about global warming, and I give them a lesson on the project about the pollution that is happening, and at the end of the day they are going to go and just open the water tap for half an hour without caring about it, or using a lot of plastic bags, or if education doesn't change the behavior of our students, then what is the purpose of it? So for this reason, it's very challenging to deliver an idea for a student, make this idea work in their brain, then they start behave based on it. And definitely this takes time. And I really feel that there must be something done in terms of curriculums. Lot of knowledge, a lot of spoon feeding. Sometimes we don't have to give 10 lessons in a semester just to say that our students studied everything. What's the point of giving 10 lessons at the time they understood only 1 or 2? Let it be 5 lessons, effective lessons, where they can use in their daily life. And I'm sure this is, we cannot blame teachers about that, because we are not the curriculum developers. At some point, people who work in curriculum, they have to look at that. They have to know that we cannot move in a lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. We do an assessment. No, education cannot proceed in this way. This is how we took it, but it cannot proceed in this way. So a lot of work must be done in terms of curriculum, in terms of our mindset, what we really need from the students. I don't need them to memorize. I need them to behave based on what they are learning. And this is lifelong learning. So in order to give a solution for what we are saying, so, okay, it's not about stating principles and highlighting on challenges. I'm going to give kind of a solution for one solution that we can implement in our classrooms. When you look at the students, when they are playing video games, and there are a lot of TED Talks about video games and their positive impact on students, even though many people might say, this is not right, it's only distraction, it's affecting parents are against video gaming, and myself, I'm against anything which distracts a student from learning. Yes, But look at video games. When your students are in your classroom but thinking about video games, if they are not playing, thinking about video games, why they are thinking about it? Why they are so motivated to go to school, to go back home and start playing PlayStation? If we can understand what is the secret behind video games and take these things and put it into education, definitely our students are going to be very enthusiastic, very motivated about learning. We might say this cannot happen because there is this dilemma between the student and the school and they hate studying. But at some point it can work, because definitely any one of you have tried making games in the classroom, maybe Kahoot, maybe online assessment, maybe games that motivate them. And you see how your students are motivated about gaming and rewards. So maybe if we try to switch the way we deliver the lesson more into competition, more into rewards, more into connections, this definitely will help the students look at the lesson in a different way. Maybe they will look at it as a game that I need to play, but in order to pass this game, I need to understand the concept. So understanding video games and how they affect the brain, and definitely this is something wrong actually, because it leads to addiction. But why it leads to addiction? Because video games target different parts of the brains of the students. It is built on allowing them to use their motor cortex when they move, their emotions, the music, the colors, the rewards that they get. So the students feel like I cannot leave this game because I already did too much progress. So I'm not going to lose and stop playing it at some point. So what if we do all of this in education? So video games, to summarize what drives students or kids or the new generation to video games and PlayStation, is simply the fun, the fact that they enjoy doing it, the interaction they have. They are connected to each other. I have students connected to students from US, from UK. They are building friends based on video games. Decision taking. This is a very important skill that students or kids are doing when they play video games. They decide what to do and they feel that they are excellent in doing it. And definitely rewarding and emotions. And as we mentioned before, when it comes to brain, everything is connected to emotions. If you are able to connect any idea you want to deliver to someone to emotions, definitely it's going to be burned in the memory. So instead of video games, let me write here, learning. Can we do that? Are we able to incorporate fun with learning? Yes. This is something easy. Sometimes a joke in the classroom. Sometimes maybe sharing pictures, funny pictures with the students about learning, directly or indirectly related. Decision making. I believe that we already do that when we ask the students to work in groups and we give them roles and they have to take a decision. When we ask them to present their work, when we give them options for their learning. I'm giving you a research. You are free to present it the way you want. You can present it by Canva online. You can send me a Keynote document. You can make a PowerPoint. You can simply record yourself. So giving the students options about what they want to decide. This is decision making. Reward and emotions, and this is the only weapon that teachers use. Rewards, marks. But rewards can be not only marks. Even it can be something that maybe we can design kind of badges at the beginning of the semester. And we say, okay, if you take more of these badges, we will collect them. We are going to display them in the platform or in the school, bulletin board, whatsoever. Students, everyone likes rewards, everyone, and especially kids. So, and interaction. And I think there is no point of talking about interaction. We already did this years ago when we started switching the class into student-centered class. So can we do all of these online? Yes. Is it easier? Definitely it's easier. And technology can help doing all of this. Now, will this be affecting the pace of our curriculum? Maybe, yeah. Because if I want to design a lesson, an activity that takes 40 minutes, maybe I can explain it in 10 minutes and I move to the next concept or next objective. But if I want students to have fun and work together, it might take 40 minutes. And honestly, this is something that we cannot solve now, but we have to ask for it. We have to think about the curriculum developer. They have to understand that if we really need to reach effective learning, we need more time. We need more planning. We need less teaching hours. I cannot be teaching 30 sessions in a week and I need to prepare an activity that includes fun and interaction. No, this is not realistic. That's why I'm saying it's so challenging, but we can do it. It doesn't have that I have to do it every session. Maybe once in a month, once in a week. But at least we have to incorporate, we have to change our mindset about what is education, what do we really expect from our students. Maybe it's about changing a little bit the expectations. If I have a student who graduated with 80 out of 100, but he enjoyed learning, he gained skills, he was interacting, it's better than a student graduating 90 out of 100, but doing it because for the sake of getting marks. So we have to change the way we think about education, I believe, and the shift that we are doing isn't about technology. It's mainly about our mindset. And in the absence of technology, we can still do a very effective learning if we think about all of these together. So sorry about this very long presentation. Sometimes I get very excited, but everything I'm sharing with you is built on personal experience. I've been teaching since 11 years, and I have taught students from grade 6 to grade 12. And I was looking at how students feel. I spend a lot of time with the students reflecting on their learning experiences and listening to them. And I believe that the voice of your students must be heard. You need to put your feet in their shoes and understand their challenges. They do have challenges. They are living in a cyber world. Maybe they are subject to bullying. They are exposed. They compare themselves to other students. They have a lot of challenges, maybe stress from their parents. So I believe that it's the time that we start supporting our kids, no matter how much they are doing in terms of curriculum. I know that they are going to sit at the end for assessment, international assessment, and they need to score well. But this must not be before looking at their well-being and their mental health. So thank you for listening, and I would like to open the stage for questions, if anyone would like to ask any question. Yes, Mr. Kian, if anyone is willing to ask any question, we might have some time for...
Yes, we have about 10 minutes
Yes.
or 15 minutes. So if nobody has questions, I have prepared a few.
Yeah.
So I'm also teaching, but not specifically math. So it's pretty good for me to know. Some courses are easier to teach online, for example, programming. So I don't have to move to lots of different desks to see their computers, what's happening. But in some other courses like engineering, I really need to see the hardware. So how to, in a hybrid learning mode, how to balance out these two, that they can work both on online and they can both work on campus or in class. Because I have many students that can't do anything online, and I have many good students that fail to do something on campus.
Yeah, definitely, it's something challenging, and actually we all are facing it. At the end of the day, we prefer to have all our students grouped in one place, and preparing instructions for students in one place is much more easier. So I can see the amount of work that you are doing in order to manage or to meet the needs of those two models in education. But I think that speaking about college students, maybe it might be a little bit more easier, because I think they need to carry some responsibility based on their knowledge for tools. they need to carry their own responsibility for learning. So there must be something unified between what is going on inside the campus and what is going on in the classroom. At home, online. There are some things that we cannot do. Like, for example, I had in my biology class last year a hybrid class, and we have to do a dissection session. So dissection students must be in the lab. They have to work by their hands. It's very difficult for this to be done over online. But then what should I do? I need the students to gain the skills. So what I did instead, I simply recorded a video doing every step by step, and I send them the video, and I ask them, if you can try to do anything at home with the precautions, with all the things that you can do it. Otherwise, you are responsible for the concepts, and they were evaluated based on the concept, but they didn't try it. So definitely it's so challenging, but at some point we can do our best. So I think there must be something unified in terms of knowledge, something unified in terms of the information that students must take. It's fair that they both take the same amount of information, the same quality of explanation. The difference can be in terms of presenting work. I believe presenting work at the level of post-lesson, not pre-lesson or during the lesson. After the lesson, maybe how they present work, how they practice, how they communicate with you. This might be a little bit challenging. I hope that I answered your question, but definitely there's nothing can be done to unify both learning experiences exactly 100%.
Exactly. So I think you just have to learn how to make the best out of the situations that we have, and
definitely
try to use the tools to the best that we can. Yes. Okay, are there any other questions?
Yes. I see someone raising his hand.
Yes.
Francisc.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I have students using a 3D lab environment called Labster, where they can, I think, do some dissections as well. They have to put on the coat and the goggles and gloves and everything, and they find it really, they like it, because maybe it also brings some of that gaming into their classroom. This is my third year in UAE, and it's been very interesting. Last year was a big decision making. We decided to stay. But, I just wanted to go back to some of the things that you raised up as far as curriculum and the expectations based, put on the teachers. It was difficult these last 2 years. And we finished, basically, we had to write our own curriculum at school. And something that I was a part of before, but before that it was more of a year-long process with a large number of teachers. So there was a separate group. We had to do it, or it was done outside of regular school time. Whereas here we had to do it while we were teaching on the go, on the run, during COVID, and the way that the schools are marked and graded here on a rubric, and the schools receives a tick mark for doing this, for doing that, for doing this. None of those tick marks really, I think, addressed the things that you were talking about. It's other tick marks that take our time from preparing the lessons the way you described them. So like on the background, the system somehow requires a change. So the teachers who would like to change and would like to teach in a different way. So there would be a ground prepared for that, because I think many of us do, but it's been really, really difficult to go through that change when in the back we're still required to do those same things as before. But thank you for your presentation. It was very inspirational. for me, I found that the best way to get the engagement and learning from students is by building stronger relationships with them and being really close with them. And because if those relationships are not there, and I try to protect them by any and all means, because when those students when they see that I care about them, they learn.
Yeah, definitely.
When they don't see the caring from the teacher, they could care less about how much you know or what you want to teach them. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your input, and you are highlighting at very important points that all teachers maybe are facing nowadays. And this is the difference between the research and practice part. And I see that a lot of people have done a lot of research and got degrees in education. And when it comes to practice, things might be different because, as you mentioned, education is a very sensitive thing to speak about and to implement. We are working with the humans. We need to think about their mental health, their readiness. Are they ready? So not everything we plan can be implemented. That's why I mentioned that this stage is still a transition stage, and definitely a lot of things are put on our shoulders as teachers, because at the end of the day we are we are the people who are making the difference in the classroom. We are the ones who are implementing those researches, and I believe that our voice must be heard as well. So I think what's happening in UAE is really, compared to other countries, it's amazing. I have attended 5 years ago a conference in USA, and I have met teachers from different countries. And I was chatting with them before the conference, and I realized that every teacher across the world is suffering from the same concepts. We have plus or minus same challenges. A lot of things are expected to be done from the teachers. Maybe the expectations in general have put a lot of stress on us. At the same time, we are required to have a full-time job and to submit our lesson plans on a daily basis. Yeah, I believe that it's so challenging. But when I looked at what UAE is doing, I felt that it's much more blessing for me teaching here, because there are a lot of tools, a lot of support system. There are some kind of standards that try to increase the level of education. Maybe you have taught here 3 years or 4 years or 2 years, but I've been here since 11 years, and I really can witness the change that has happened. It's not easy. I have attended a lot of workshops, and some of them were obligatory, because the KHDA force us, or the Ministry of Education, they need educators to be tech users, digital users. They need us to learn those new tools. And this is, I can see it at another point of view. This is very supportive, because despite all the challenges and all the effort that you put in these 2 years, now I feel that you gain a lot of skills, and now things are much more easier for you. And again, it's a global thing. We are doing better than others, and maybe others are doing better than us. It's an ongoing process, a trial and error. And that's why I ended my presentation by saying it's a mindset. I'm not going to wait anyone to tell me how I want to teach my students in the class, taking into consideration the curriculum, the standards that I have to cover. But in terms of strategies, this is an effort that I have to put. And we all know that teachers don't work 8 hours in a day. They work 14 hours in a day. And even in their weekends, if they are not working, their brains is functioning. What they want to prepare, the planning, lesson plans, exams, correction. This is our career. But there is a great value behind what we are doing. And we have to admire this value, and hoping that one day teaching career will become or will have more focus from management side, from admin side, and they realize that teaching today is much more challenging than before. If we really need to deliver quality teaching, and we need to look for effective learning, we need to have some changes at the level of our career-wise, the educational system-wise, curriculum-wise, and definitely duties-wise. How much duties teachers must do. Thank you so much, and I don't think that we still have time, even though I'm really enjoying this chat, because looking at what other teachers are doing, are facing, give me this feeling that we are one family, regardless where you teach, what curriculum you teach. But educators all over the world are one family, and we all have the same struggles. So we are like each other. So I believe at some point that the change must start with us, in your classroom, in the way you think, the way you deal with your students. No one can prevent me from giving my students a lecture about mental health and looking at their well-being. No one will ask me not to do that, but I can do it, and I can decide not to do it and just proceed with the curriculum regardless of how my students are feeling. That's why there is something that we can control and something that we cannot. So I believe in terms of what we can control, there is a lot that we can do.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Hatem. Very inspiring presentation. I learned a lot myself.
Thank you.
I'm hoping other teachers also took lots of notes. And are there any more questions on the chat? No, I think we are clear. Okay, so I will invite everyone back to the main session. And once again, thank you very much, Mr. Hatem.
Thank you so much.
That was incredible. Thank you.